Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I'm going to give you my flicks of the week, which is going to be 2 strong recommendations from every major streaming service, as well as your best bet for a rental this week and your best bet for the theater. So starting off this list, as always, I like to go with Netflix since that's what most of you seem to be watching. And I want to recommend a little known movie called A Most Violent Year. Now this is kind of a cool sort of crime mob related movie about a businessman played by Oscar Isaac and his wife, Jessica Chastain. It takes place in New York in the 80s. It's beautifully shot, really well directed, but it's about, like I said, a businessman who's maybe tied a little bit too closely. Like his business is wrapped up a little bit too closely with mob activities, and it's kind of helped him get to where he is, but he cannot break away from it. It is fairly slow paced, but like if you like the genre, this is a great example of it. I enjoyed this one a lot. It's not particularly entertaining, but it's interesting, and it's really well sort of paced and well thought out. Just a nice little gem of a movie that a lot of people missed. It's only a couple of years old, but if it sounds like your kind of jam, I definitely recommend checking it out. The Game, directed by David Fincher, is not talked about enough, and I'm suspicious as to why. I think it's because it came out between Seven and Fight Club, which are both superior movies, but The Game, really good little taut thriller with a really bizarre twist. Michael Douglas plays a really wealthy guy who essentially gets wrapped up in this game that he's not really supposed to be able to tell what's real and what's not, and then things just they go down this dark path. He gets very confused. His life is threatened in a number of ways. If somehow you miss this one, never saw it back when it was running on like TNT or anything, now is a great time to watch it. I can tell you this is probably not going to stay on Netflix for long. On Amazon Prime, another Michael Douglas movie, Black Rain. This was actually directed by Ridley Scott, and it too got kind of lost because, it came out after Blade Runner. It's not Ridley Scott's best work from the 80s, but it is a good movie. It's really well done. Douglas is a detective where he has to follow a case over to Japan. It's got this cool neo-noir element to it with the neon lights. It's got almost like a Blade Runner feel to it at times, but it was set in the 80s when it came out. Douglas is tearing it up on a motorcycle. There's some good action sequences in this one that you wouldn't expect to see in like a detective movie. If you've never seen it, really cool little action detective movie from the 80s. Another good little thriller from the 80s starring Kevin Costner is No Way Out. This one all takes place in the Pentagon. He's trying to, prove a crime. He's trying to find evidence of corruption, and meanwhile the powers that be are trying to capture him and stop him, and it's all within, like I said, in the Pentagon. So there's a lot of running down hallways in this one. It's got a little bit of a Die Hard element to it, just without nearly as much violence in it, but I enjoy this one a lot. I've watched it quite a few times, and if somehow you missed it, you'd be surprised. When you watch it, you're going to be surprised that you've never seen it. I've got a lot of crossover this week. On Hulu, I've got another Ridley Scott movie called Black Hawk Down. It's one a lot of people know. To me, it is one of, if not the best modern warfare movie we have. The cinematography is incredible in it. The action is intense. It feels like you're there. I remember just being really nervous in the theater as they're first flying in for the mission. This movie stuck with me for a really long time. I've enjoyed it every time I've watched it. I love almost everything about it. It's so true to the actual story. And then they sort of make up this big epic climax that I wish they hadn't have done. But it's a small nitpick in an otherwise just incredible war movie. Tom Clancy's The Hunt for Red October is also currently on Hulu. Really great spy, kind of espionage type movie. Takes place mostly on a submarine with Sean Connery. Jack Ryan is played by Alec Baldwin. And the reason that one makes this list is because the new Jack Ryan series is about to come out on Amazon Prime. So this movie's probably also available on Prime. If not, it will be soon, along with the other Jack Ryan movies, Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games. I'm going to be watching all of those this week in preparation for the new series on Prime. It comes out on the 31st, and it looks like it's going to be really, really good. On HBO, again, I've got crossover. I've got two Frances McDormand movies. One is her most famous role in Fargo. One of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. One of my favorite movies, hands down. Really, really love this one. And I said this on the podcast, which I'll put a link to the podcast in the description below. But I talked a little bit more about Fargo, No Country for Old Men, and Blood Simple, the Coen Brothers' first movie, and how those really act as a trilogy with Fargo in the middle. It's hard for me to say which of those three is my favorite. I like them all in different ways for different reasons, but I really, really do love everything about Fargo. It's such a unique little movie, so kind of special unto itself. I would imagine most people watching have seen it, but if it's been a while, I think if you were to go back and watch Fargo, you're going to be surprised at how you forgot how good this movie actually is. And then Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is the newest movie on this list. It won a bunch of awards this past season. It deserved a bunch of awards. Was it the best picture of the year? No, I don't think so. But it was up there. It definitely deserved to get recognized. It's got some quirky little weird things to it. Sam Rockwell, who's one of my favorite actors, this is one of his best roles. Really, really fantastic character. I don't want to give too much away, but if you want to watch a fairly new release, this one just got added to HBO, and I gotta say, it definitely is one of the better movies to have come out last year. Real weak selection as far as rentals go this week, so I don't have any recommendations for something that's coming out this week, but something that came out last week that I just recently watched that I highly recommend is Ghost Stories. You can rent this on any streaming service. It's available on Blu-ray. Really, really good anthology horror movie that stars Martin Freeman. He doesn't appear till late in the movie, but it's got a cool vibe to it. And what I will say, I'll go ahead and warn you, especially if you're going to spend money to watch this one, I was excited to watch this one, and I was bored almost to tears in the first 30 minutes. It's very slow. It takes an inordinate amount of time getting in, but then once it starts, it not only gets better, but every 10 minutes is better than the 10 minutes prior. It just continues to get better and better and better all the way through past the third anthology story, through the end. I enjoyed this one. It's based on a stage play, and you can kind of see that as you're watching it, so it's good to know that going in. It's also good to know that it is very, very slow at the start, but it's building up for a payoff, and the payoff is worth the wait, and it's worth $4 or $5 if you want to rent it. And then this week in the theater, The Meg comes out. I'm very excited to see this one. Believe it or not, it does not look like my type of a movie, but I've been sort of following it for a while. I like half of Jason Statham's movies. Was curious if this was going to be one. It's about him hunting down a megalodon shark. I'm like, how dumb is this going to be? But the trailer dropped a few months ago, and it looks very self-aware, which I hold in very, very high regard in terms of movies. It looks like it's going to be a little tongue-in-cheek, a little fun. Looks like you're going to see like a 100-foot shark just swallowing people and a giant squid, and they're going to be trying to kill it with rockets, and it's going to be a little funny. Looks like a good time at the movies. I will actually be watching this one this week, and I'll be posting a review on the channel on Friday. So stay tuned for that. Click the subscribe button. Click the little bell icon if you want to get constant updates like this. But I will keep making episodes like this as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me next time.